with the very latest, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Lieutenant Governor Patrick, tell the audience why what you're doing is legal and way overdue.
Well, the Supreme Court and other courts have ruled that it is legal. We simply want more Republicans because we're a red state, and that's why we're redistricting the maps. No other reason, and we have a right to do that. I think the Democrats have just been exposed. People are shocked when they see these totals in other states where there's 0 Republicans or 1 or 2 when President Trump received 35 to 45% of the vote or more. I mean, it's outrageous what they've done. And so we're simply going to pass a map this week. Tuesday will probably go out Wednesday morning with 5 Republican majority districts that are new. It's legal. It's our right to do it on behalf of the voters in Texas. Kelly, what's interesting about this is that it's just a matter of doing our job on behalf of the people who elected us. We're a red state, and we don't give a diddly darn about what Kathy Hochul or Newsom or anyone else has to say. They are the emperor with no clothes. They've been doing this for decades. And by the way, don't mess with Texas to the governor of New York. Just don't mess with us.
That's right. I don't want to picture Kathy Hochul or J.B. Pritzker without clothes. Attorney General Paxton, you are the chief law enforcement officer of the state of Texas. The lieutenant governor is correct. It is a red state. Why is that relevant? Because for years we heard Texas is turning blue. Hillary's going to turn it blue. It's actually been the opposite, including historically in Rio Grande districts and others. As a chief law enforcement officer, tell us what's going on with these Democrats who have fled the state. Now you don't have to pay them their stipend. Tell us where all these scaredy cats have gone and what your recourse against them is.
Well, oddly enough, they've gone to Illinois, which is a largely gerrymandered state, 14 Democrats, 3 Republicans, despite a relatively close election with Kamala Harris getting like 52, 53% of the vote. Massachusetts has 0 Republican congressmen. New York has their gerrymandered line. So it's odd that these Democrats are complaining as they leave Texas about supposed gerrymandering when we have legitimate reasons. Not only are we a Republican state, not only do we have more Republicans than we did, because we have immigrants from California, from Illinois. We have a lot of people coming from other states trying to escape the tyranny of these Democratic states. And we have a lot of population growth over the last 5 years that needs to be represented correctly.
And let me stick with you for a moment, Attorney General Paxton, if I may. A lot is being made that President Trump is removing illegal migrants from Texas and obviously from the rest of the nation, removing them from the census. Can he do that? How will that work?
Yeah, it literally makes no sense for us to count people and give credit to states that attract illegal immigrants. It doesn't make sense. I don't think that's what the founders intended. And so what President Trump is trying to do is correct the ills that have occurred in the past where the Democrats have attracted illegal immigrants to bolster their numbers. They've created an incentive for the illegals to come because they want to count them in congressional redistricting to give themselves an advantage, even though these people are not citizens and even though they can't vote. So what President Trump is trying to do is correct something that is very wrong that has been done to the American people, and I commend him for doing that.
Well, here in Texas, there in Texas, you're definitely shining a light on it, both of you. Lieutenant Governor, if I may ask you, since you mentioned particularly about the complete lack of representation in our House of Representatives in these states where President Trump got a fair percentage of the vote, what can those states learn from Texas? Some of the states we're talking about are clearly not, quote, red states, but what can they learn from what you're doing there?
So, Kelly, I think what has been exposed this week is how badly the Democrats have performed in decades by taking advantage in Republican or Democrat states of making sure that Republicans are not represented in Congress. So I think Republicans are now awake in all of these states. And I think even in blue states where the Democrats are in control, you're going to see Republicans rising up and independents rising up and say, wait, this is not right. We have an entire state with no Republicans in Congress, or 1 or 2, or Illinois, which is really a terrible example, where the president got 43% of the vote and they only have 3 out of 17 seats. Look, I find this fascinating, these Democrats, and I know they're watching on television now. They're paying attention to what's going on. Look, they are complaining. Well, you're going to come after us and arrest us? Well, what job in America does anyone have where you have to go out and arrest someone to come to work. But that's what we're going to do. Ken Paxton, Greg Abbott leading these efforts. We're going to arrest them and bring them back to the House if that's what needs to be done, or they'll show up. They can't win. They have a losing hand. Again, we're going to pass redistricting and all 17 bills, including the flooding bills, out this week, coming up with a week to go for them to come back. So if they don't come back, that means they're turning their back. They're turning their back on the families who lost 137 people in the terrible July 4th flood. They're turning their back on Texas. They deserve to be arrested and brought back. And if they can be removed from office, they deserve that too, because they are not serving the Constitution, in my view. They're not serving their constituents, which they vowed to do. They are on the run. And if we can find them and cuff them, we need to bring them back, because we need to do the business for Texas. We're not doing anything wrong. Everything we're doing is legal. In the Texas Senate, my job is to pass conservative legislation. We're a juggernaut in that, whether it's pro-life, Second Amendment bills, anti-woke bills. We passed to put the 10 Commandments back in schools this year and prayer back in schools. The Texas Senate will power through and pass all these bills again and again and again. We're not going to put up with this.
Attorney General Paxton and Lieutenant Governor Patrick, a very intense, informative segment to kick us off tonight. I thank you both. Don't mess with Texas and don't ignore it. We're watching.